Going live. So, hey, everybody. This is Lauren Shirley. I'm the missions pastor at First Methodist Carrollton. We're here with Lindy, who's our missions chair, and Bob and Ann Rosser are two of our missionaries. And because of all the craziness in the world right now, we aren't able to have as many of our missionaries in person as we'd like. So, we wanted to do a couple conversations with some of our friends around the world and around the country to kind of hear what God has been doing in their lives over the past year, and then also just talk about their stories, how they were sent, how they were called by God to be involved in missions. So let me throw it to Lindy, who's our missions chair, and let her kind of introduce the Rossers.
Okay, this is Bob and Ann Rosser. I actually had the privilege of going to Kenya with them in 2014, I believe, or 2015, and I really got to see their ministry up close and personal. That was a very memorable trip, and it was so impressive to watch them work there and just to see all that they're doing. And so Bob and Ann began an organization that's now called Mission Kenya, and I'll let them tell you more. Tell us, first of all, how did you first become interested in Kenya?
Well, we got the opportunity to work in missions at our church. The pastor decided everyone was going to work in something, and he gave people opportunities to volunteer in all kinds of positions in the church. And then there was about a dozen of us left. And he said, okay, y'all are in missions. And then we got organized and we got actively involved in missions, and we had we call them pie suppers, auctions where we had dessert auctions where we raised funds for missions, and we got actively involved with missions. Went to Ecuador a couple times.
You did.
I did a couple times, and in the meantime, there was a mission organization called Medics International that was renting space in our church. Our church had bought a shopping mall, and we had extra space, and Medics was renting space in our building. And of course, I knew the people from Medics, grew up with those boys, and we gradually got more involved with Medics. And about a year later, after we got acquainted with them, Dr. Lester asked me if I would come over and function as the president of one of the divisions of Medics. At that time, it's called Bridges International Development, and I did. And about the same time, Ann got acquainted with Ann Morrell, who was working for Medics, and so she wanted to work with Ann Morrell. So we both went over to the Medics organization, and I was functioning as the leader of Bridges. And over time, Bridges has taken over. Actually, today, as Mission Kenya, we changed our name about 3 years ago. And now, Medics International doesn't exist. Bridges International doesn't exist. The other ministry or two that was involved doesn't exist. The only thing that's left is what Ann and I do. In 2003, we made our first trip with Ann Morrell and Tom.
Right.
Tom Wright. We made a trip to Kenya, and since that trip in 2003, we have been actively involved in the ministry in Kenya. In fact, Medics has pulled out of the work that they were doing in Kenya, and we have taken all that over in the past 25 years. We've trained us and Medics, and some of our students that have branched off from us have trained over 2,500 Kenyan pastors in a 20-week, 2-year training program. And we felt like that's a significant milestone for us, because neither of us have ministry in our families. And shortly after we were married, I was going to school at Oklahoma State University, where we both were, and in our church there, we started volunteered to teach first grade. She was teaching the girls and I was teaching the boys. I found out it was more challenging than I thought. And over the years, no matter where we went, we were involved in teaching with either junior high, senior high, or today we lead the senior adult ministry at our church. And there's the prayer requests and contacting everyone, keeping up with everything and stuff. And basically, I do the teaching.
So
Well,
back to your ministry. Now, Medics began as a medical supply and, had a very medical bent toward, helping with that kind of thing.
Right.
And you guys came in and saw a need for this training. Am I right? For pastors and for women.
Well,
So how did you make the shift? Did you just feel like God was calling you to do something besides the medical side, or how did that shift come about?
no, the shift came about by Dr. Lester actually started the pastor training, and he initiated.
With Paul Morrell.
Yeah, he and Paul
Now,
Morrell.
Paul Morrell was a longtime pastor at our church, for anyone who
Right,
doesn't know that.
right.
And Ann is his widow. And
Yes.
so Ann still works with them and was very much in the beginning of all this. So back to the question, sorry.
And Dr. Lester named the pastor training program the Paul Morrell Pastor Training School. So when Lester's left, we took over pastor training, and we've been doing it ever since. We have a great staff. We have an awesome staff. Pastor Jackson Karangu is our pastor teacher. He was there back in the Medics days, and he's still with us today. Still as dedicated, every bit as dedicated today as he ever was. One of our pastor graduate students is now assigned to a Methodist church within the area, and he works with us on a half-time basis in what we call our evangelism ministry. That's I want to call him Kikamuku. His real name is Joffrey Morongo. Joffrey does an excellent job. He's a great evangelist. He's gone into the local prisons for us with some of our staff. He goes out into the remote areas and uses a miniature camera, a very small miniature camera, and presents the Jesus film and gives an evangelistic message. And we've had good results. We've had over 1,000 people that out in the bush area that have accepted Jesus. And that's another part of our ministry, but that all evolved out of the Morrell School.
Has that been able to continue this year, going out into the villages?
We have had to slow down a little bit this year because of the pandemic, and they have had in Kenya. They have also had restrictions that we've had to deal with, and that has slowed down quite a bit. But Pastor Joffrey goes out 6 times a month to a remote village where there's no electricity, no running water, no school, no store, no whatever, and presents the gospel. Or he may go into a marketplace. Sometimes he's invited into churches. And of course, over there, it's not uncommon to get invited into a school.
Right.
That's great. So how's your staff doing? Has anyone had illness this year with the virus, or are they all well?
Our staff is doing great. We have a staff of 4 people.
Mhm.
There's Elliot, who is our director. Elliot Najal is our director. He coordinates everything, takes care of the funds and the monies and all that. Maintains contact with us on a daily basis. Pastor Jackson is the pastor trainer, and he's got a couple of assistants that help him from time to time. But all the pastor trainers are trained in the BTCP training program. That's the Bible training curriculum for pastors. It's about a 25-year-old curriculum. It's written primarily for Africa, Kenya in particular, and it's a 10-volume set of books that takes them 20 weeks to go through these. And then they graduate, and graduation is a big thing. Graduation is such a celebration, and we have graduation gowns, and they dress up, and they have to have a cake, and they cut the cake. Cutting the cake is a huge ceremony. It's a great celebration for them over there. And then
One
we
of the first things that we did when I went over with them was to attend a graduation, and the people are so thrilled to see Bob and Ann. They know them, they followed them, they're just so thrilled. But there's such an air of celebration. Like he said, they wear caps and gowns, and then they decorate them with colorful, beads and all these things and their family brings things that they can hang on their cap and gown, and it's really a fun celebration.
it is a lot of fun, and the families really get into it because they buy the plaques and the leis, and at graduation time they have so many things hanging around their neck sometimes they can hardly get their diplomas. And Ann prints out every stinking diploma by hand. She prints them out, and we sign them, and then send them over to her.
So tell us a little bit about your book, Ann. Ann's been very involved with the women and the educate. I've read this book that Ann and Ann Morrell wrote, and it addresses everything spiritual, everything practical. It is a phenomenal resource. So tell us a little bit about how that came about, Ann.
Well, to begin with, I had to do a lot of research I wrote the medical part of the book, and I had to do a lot of research because they do things in Africa a little bit different than we do here. And cleanliness was one of the main things that we had to address. And they didn't even know how really to wash their hands. And in the book, it explains that. And then from there, we go to the different diseases that they have and how to address them, how to keep them from getting them if possible, and then how to get over it if they do have it. And so I had to do a lot of research on the medical part of writing the book. And then, of course, Ann Morrell wrote the other parts, and we put it all together. Then later, we have recently revised it and had it reprinted. And the main reason for that was because in the section in the first book, we did not involve the female circumcision, as we call it, or mutilation, and we felt like that needed to be, or I felt like it needed to be involved in the book itself. I had printed an extra little booklet on the female circumcision, but it needed to be in the book, and that was one of the reasons I wanted to revise the book. And now it's all together. It's beautiful.
They revised it, and there's just such a demand. People who have it will use it until it's just ragged. And,
The book has been translated. The original book was translated, I think, into 4 languages: English, Swahili, Kiswahili, and Lingala. The latest revision has not been translated yet, but the intention is to translate it in at least those languages again.
So 30 years ago, did you have any idea you'd be writing a book that'd be translated into 4 languages?
No way. And printed and available on Amazon? No way. But
So what was the process for you of kind of stepping into that new role and that calling later in your life?
well, back up just a little bit. I surrendered to foreign missions when I was in junior high. I went to our church summer youth camp one year, and that's when I went forward and dedicated my life to foreign missions. But I didn't go through with that, I guess you would say, until after college. I was a wife, a mother, a grandmother, and now here I am doing missions, which I've been called to do. I never ever, it just did not leave me. I always had that pull for missions. And even after, well, even before, when I was a little girl, I can remember when we studied about missions. That was, ooh, I was just so excited. We're going to study about the missionaries, and I wanted to hear about them. Others, they said, I don't want to hear about those Indians or whatever, But I love to hear it, and I still have that same enthusiasm today. The first time that we went to Africa, I can remember that when our plane started to land, Bob happened to be seated on the other side of the plane from me, and I looked over at him because we were just about ready to land, and I looked over at him, and I was just so excited. He was laughing at me because I was so excited about it. But anyhow, I have a real joy and excitement about it. And the book.
What would you say to someone who said, well, I had a call when I was young, but it's too late now? What would you say to them?
I'd say it's never too late. Never, ever too late, because God doesn't forget what commitment you made. And I never forgot. I always, as Bob said, when we were teaching those little first graders, to me, it was an excitement of sharing the gospel, sharing the word. It was there. And I just never forgot it.
It only
How
took
about you, Bob?
only
Did you
took her 50
feel-
years.
Go ahead.
It only took her 50 years to
Did you
get to
feel
Africa.
called when you were younger, Bob?
Ma'am?
Did you feel called as a younger person?
No. We
Okay, so how did that feel later on to hear this call? Would you?
well, I kind of found out that I was kind of a teacher at heart,
Yes.
and
Yes.
I guess
It's a gift.
that's the one of the things I kind of excel in, and it was just an opportunity to share, an opportunity to teach. We were fortunate. We got to go to South Africa 2 or 3 times with Bruce Wilkinson and Swaziland down there, and spent time in the south part of Africa as well as northeast Africa, and we just hope and pray that the those 2,500 pastors and a lot of women too, because we graduated about 700 women through the women's training program, and of course they have a great ministry within their own family and community and church and stuff. Women are very strong in Africa, very strong. But we just hope and pray that those people whose lives we've touched, will continue. I mean, who would have ever thought that, you added, if you want to play with numbers, we probably touched the lives of somewhere around 5,000 people pretty directly, not the indirect ones, but pretty directly. And who would have ever thought that? Who would have ever thought we'd have that kind of influence? I mean, I grew up in a log cabin. There was no pictures in our family. God had a different plan.
You did. It sounds like it kind of evolved with you a little bit, but you just heard obeyed this step and this step and this step. Would you say that characterizes it?
One step at a time.
Yeah.
When we started teaching first grade, I had 2 boys in my first grade class, both named Paul. There were some other boys, but there were 2 of them named Paul. And I walked in one morning, and Paul were arguing as to whether Paul in the Bible was a disciple or an apostle. I just went over my head.
That's great. Well, a scripture just came to mind. Isaiah 55:10 says, as the rain and the snow come down from heaven and do not return to it without watering the earth and making it bud and flourish, so that it yields seed for the sower and bread for the eater, so is my word that goes out from my mouth. It will not return to me empty, but will accomplish what I desire and achieve the purpose for which I sent it. So I feel, and that's followed by the words, you'll go out with joy and be led forth with peace. The mountains and hills will burst into song before you, and the trees of the field will clap their hands. So I'm kind of thinking how one word, one teaching little kids, one start has led to so much more.
One trip we made, about 5 years ago, both our kids went with us. That was a treasure, for us to have our whole family, us and our 2 kids, all there, standing on the equator, acting silly.
Yeah.
It was a blessing. It was a blessing not only for us, but it blessed them too.
Yeah, that's great.
Sure.
Very much. Very much.
And still does. And still does.
They still talk about it.
They still want to go back.
Oh, I still talk about it from the time I went. Yeah.
Well, come on.
So, Ann, what would you say to someone that maybe they felt a call when they were younger, but it's been, a few years or a lot of years? What would you say to someone who's thinking, well, maybe God can use me in a new season? What would you kind of say to help encourage someone in that process?
Take a baby step. Talk to a missionary, talk to a Sunday school teacher, volunteer to do something. If nothing else, be the greeter at the front door.
Like I said,
Get involved.
God doesn't forget. So he's not put you on the back burner. He's just waiting for the right time and for you to be willing and ready to go. You'll be ripe and ready to go to do the mission that he's called you to do. And everyone's called to something different.
Mhm.
All the ministries have needs. All people have needs. If nothing else, take some food to a neighbor. Reach out to a friend. And just called a neighbor just now and who's recently widowed and to see how she was doing because we're in the middle of a ice storm here. And you just reach out. And mission organizations, if nothing else, go in and help them update their mailing list. Help them count their funds. Help them write some new books. There's lots of ways you can help.
I think you really are onto something there because sometimes we think of a calling as being this big thing and how am I ever going to figure out how to make it work? And yet it's those small involvements that can begin to lead to a connection, an opportunity. You learn about something that you didn't know about before. That can be, it can be a matter of calling a mission organization saying, I'm ready to go, but it can also kind of evolve out of just a lot of steps of obedience and looking out, looking around for others. That's an excellent.
Volunteer to answer the phone. Volunteer to help them write a newsletter. There's just zillions of opportunities. If you're available, God will find you.
If you're available, God will find you. That's a great line.
Good word.
Our granddaughter, one of our granddaughters, she's strayed a little bit away from God. But when I was rewriting and revising the book, she volunteered to help me, to edit and whatever, make sure the periods were where they were supposed to be and all that. And I thought, oh, this is great. She's going to be right in the middle of it where she needs to be, to hear what she needs to hear.
And there's lots of other blessings. For example, Kenya has some of the greatest wild animal parks in the world. And I got my picture made with a black rhino with my hand on his shoulder, which, I would have never dreamed. But the things can happen. The wild animals and the exotic things that you get to see, the people are sweet people, and you just fall in love with them. You just fall in love with them. They have the same needs, wants that you have.
Tell us about your I Can children. We haven't gotten to that.
we have ICANN children. We started out doing street ministry, and the street kids just were very rambunctious. So then we backed up and regrouped, and we changed into what we call an ICANN program, which is Impoverished Children's Assistance Network. And we make ourselves available through the school system, and the teachers know that we're there. And in Kenya, there's lots of orphans. There's full orphans and half orphans. But even where you got one parent, still survival is hard.
You're considered an orphan.
And we get recommendations from the teachers, and we currently have about 20 kids that are in our ICANN program, going through all levels of school. We graduated about 20 from high school, and a couple of those have become teachers themselves. One of them become a pharmacist assistant, and I haven't been able to keep up with all of them. We're getting to be so many now. But we keep about 20 in school at a time, all the way from first grade through high school. And we get pretty attached to them, and we like to get progress on them and keep up. And we know Irene and Dorcas and Doreen and the various names, Kelvin and Godfrey, and we become friends with them, and they look up to us. We're a resource that they've never had access to before. And if we get into there's a situation where Joy, who had a widowed mother and a handicapped sister, she needed a bed. She didn't even have a bed to sleep in. She didn't have a mattress. She was sleeping on cardboard on the floor. And we reached out and bought her a bed. It's just simple things like that you can do to assist them and help them and encourage them. And then, of course, she has always had a joy in seeing us. Even though her name is Joy, she always has a joy in seeing us. And Dorcas lived with her grandmother. And Irene and Tony, they lived with their grandmother and their great grandmother, and it's tough to survive in the places that they have to live. You just think, oh, I wouldn't want to keep my animals in this kind of place, but that's the best they got, and we're able to provide them with access to school, pay their school fees. We furnish them with health insurance for the family and the child, which is a great assistance. There's a government health program. It's not very expensive, kind of like our welfare type program. And we help with that. And then we do furnish a little food for the family, trying to keep the family together, because there's usually siblings, brothers and sisters, and at least a parent or a grandparent, one or the other. And they live in very humble settings, but they're sweet people. We've come to love them, and we've been able to help. Like I said, we've been able to help about 20, got about 20 more in the process as we speak.
We took shoes to the kids when I was there.
Yeah.
I remember meeting Irene and her great grandmother, and yeah.
Usually that's what they get. In Kenya, the schools are free, but they can't afford them. For one thing, they have to have a uniform and shoes. And that's usually what our kids get for Christmas. There is a new uniform and a new pair of shoes.
So the school is free, but if they don't have a uniform, they can't go? Is that what you're saying?
Right.
No,
Wow. So the need is simple and yet not, simple to solve for an organization like yours, and yet can be insurmountable for some of them.
And there's no way we could help them all. I mean, there's just no way. Our organization's not big enough. So we're always looking for any kind of assistance, really, any kind.
any amount.
What are some of the other ways we can support you and your ministry? Obviously, financial support is huge. But what are some specific ways we can be praying for y'all, or other things that or just in general, how can churches help support missionaries and mission projects like yours?
Well, put us high on your prayer list for one thing.
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
I hope in about 6 weeks to celebrate my 80th birthday. It just so happens that for this week's lesson, I'm studying Daniel, and Daniel happens to be 80 years old at the point which I'm discussing his life and his interactions with God and stuff. But now put us high on the prayer list and any kind of assistance. I mean, volunteering for an organization, helping to raise funds, putting on a pie supper, having a fundraiser, writing literature for us, helping us with our mailing, helping us with our website, helping us with our computer stuff. I mean, computers about eat my lunch. Just at the end of the year, Microsoft quit supporting Word, and here I'm trying to figure out this new 365 thing, whatever it is. And it's only middle of February, and I still don't know what I'm doing. I'm trying to write a year-end report, and I can't even keep my picture stuck on the page. This new thing keeps taking them away. So any way you can help, I mean, it's amazing. Technology is really a way that you can help, because all ministries need technological help.
That's a good word.
Yeah, one of the things I love about your ministry is that there's a lot of partnerships, right? Like, y'all aren't on the ground in Kenya all the time, but your partnerships and your advocacy for your friends there, for the national leaders there, allows things to happen that, probably wouldn't be happening otherwise. And so that's one of the fun things, is that as y'all partner with them, we get a partner with you. There's just, the kingdom of God is just interconnected in all these different ways, and we all get a partner together to see the Great Commission fulfilled. And that's just really, really cool.
Kenya fortunately became independent from the British back in about 1964. So Kenya is an independent country now. It still has a parliamentary type government and stuff. And the Methodist Church has been strong in Kenya.
Mm-hmm.
And one of our very best friends and contacts there is an old Methodist bishop. He's in his mid-90s now.
Mm.
And he and his wife is a couple of the most fantastic friends, that we have, and they cooperate with us in every way. And one of the things that I wanted to do, and I will throw this out there, is I want to put in a radio station. And I know radio is primitive here, but over there, a radio station could reach out a lot. And when I mentioned this to Bishop Matthew, he said, "Oh, put it out here at my place. Put it out here at my place." And he wants a radio station too. But, there's a lot of evangelistic startups over there, or evangelistic outreach and stuff, but they all need help and encouragement. Help and encouragement.
Well, no one organization can do it all. So just keeping on communicating like that has got to be really helpful. See who can pick up over here and pick up over there. And
one trip we went out with another bishop to. We thought we were going to a church meeting on Sunday, but we ended up going to a synod meeting. Is that, I think, what it is? It's a group of churches come together, and I think there was about 6 churches came together, and here we are out there. It just happens. It was her birthday. So Bishop William ends up leading the whole congregation
Singing happy birthday to me.
I know.
Woo! How
Some
many people get sung happy birthday to by a bishop? Wow.
great memories, great experiences, great people. We've had a blast. We really have.
Doing God's will.
Who would ever thought it?
that's the thing. He can bring about what we never would think or imagine, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And we've got involved in goats, rabbits, chickens, gardening bag, any innovative way that we can think of to help the people to be more productive. I just thought it was awesome. We were in a very remote village out in the riverbed, way out in the bush
Bush.
area, and cell phone technology, cell phones is a great boon over there because that's a contact they've never had before, was with cell phones. Someone had a little, about a 6x6 solar charger at the side of their hut, a hut that's made out of sticks and plastic and, twigs and all this. And I've got a picture of it. There's a cell phone there beside it. And they charge people to charge their cell phones.
Solar.
Got a solar charger and then they charge their cell phones. But they don't talk long on their phones. It costs them for every minute. So they'll make a call, but it's very short. They may say, call me back.
Yeah.
So it's on your dime, but cell phones has been a great innovation for them. So that has been a great thing. And even, like I say, the people, the shepherds and the Maasai and that herd the cattle and stuff, they've all got a cell phone. They're carrying a cell phone in their hand. They can do their banking on that M-Pesa. They can do their banking if they're so inclined.
Staff in one hand and a solar phone in the other one. Way to go.
Just imagine living where they bypassed telephone lines, They were cut off when that was what you needed, but,
When we first started going over there, there was a phone line and maybe one phone in about one village out of 10. And you may have to go to the next town to get to a phone or something if there were having an emergency or anything like that. But now cell phone technology has been a great blast over there. Great boom.
so we pray about how God can use all of it, the radio, the phones, right?
Yep.
That's right. That's right.
And they love music. They really love music. And we got to where we love the Kenyan music now. I mean, we bring home recordings and stuff of Christian music that they've done, and we end up singing it ourselves. So.
They do have the loudspeakers turned up to 11 when you go to church, right?
Yeah, they don't have the sound restrictions we have here. But the key thing to me is, just be open. Give God a chance. Give him a chance. And he'll find a place that will excite you. We're excited about Kenya. We love Kenya. I remember going to South America and going to Ecuador. And I'd even like to go back there. There's a place on the mountain at Champis Antia in Ecuador. And we were there. And there was an opportunity to build a school and a church up on this mountain overlooking, the other mountains. And I'd like to go back because we never had the opportunity to build there because the local religious leaders kept us out. And we've not had an opportunity to go back, but I haven't forgotten it. I still want to go back to Champis Antia. Build a school church combination up there on that beautiful mountaintop.
Much still to be done.
Yep.
Well, I would really like to thank you for taking the time this afternoon. We're sorry you weren't able to come and just visit in person. That was what we had in mind in the beginning, but this is not the year for it, and we have the eyes to confirm that, right?
Yep. The last time we came to a mission conference, we like to not got home because we almost ended up in the ditch because again, snow.
Really?
Yeah.
On
the interstate.
Here.
Yeah.
It's a problem.
Yeah.
Well, you guys,
Thank you both so much. We appreciate it so much. What you do, what the church does every month for us, and the friendships that we have made there. We love it.
been great. It really has been great, and we do appreciate the regular, constant support that you all have given us. It's really helped us to know that we have that there on a regular basis.
Well, it's a privilege to get to participate.
Yes, indeed.
And sometimes when there's not snow on the ground, we'd love to come down and
Yeah.
meet
You
everyone.
don't have to slide down, right? Well, you come see us as soon as you can. And anything else, Lauren?
No, I think that's great. We're so grateful for you guys, and thanks for everybody who's watching with us. That just be encouraged that God can use you at whatever stage of life you're at, no matter how long it's been. That He has a plan, and there's still plenty of work to be done. So I love that you guys are still dreaming about what can be done in the future, what other ways God can use you. So that's such an encouragement to all of us. So thank you so much for your time. We're gonna sign off now, but thanks for hanging out with us. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.